Welcome one, welcome all to episode 203 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, November 11th, 2023. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logan. He's got a straight face right now. In this episode, we discuss the continued news of reorganization at Xbox leadership. Grand Theft Auto 6 is being teased officially, and the Baldur's Gate 3 team have made some impressive discoveries regarding the Xbox Series S, no longer ruining the gaming industry. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, dude. I'm really good. It's been an interesting week because it's been busy at work and like my mind has been there, but like all intents purposes, I've just been having a really good time, like going back to World of Warcraft and just like living in that world for the last week. Like that's been totally encompassed my life. And it's all because of BlizzCon, which I'm sure that we'll talk a little bit about, kind of like circuitously, but it was pretty good. I really can't say anything too bad about it. How about you? How was your week?
It was a good week. There were only 3 school days this week, partially because of voting day, because schools are used as voting sites, and then a day for Veterans Day, which we took on Friday, even though today is Veterans Day. And of course, thank you to all veterans that have served in whatever country. If you're fighting for your patriotism, we appreciate you. But so it was a very strange week for that reason, but it was actually very nice because I'd missed 2 weeks last week with my eye surgery, which was very unexpected, right? So actually I had the teacher work day to make up for things, which was needed. And then the day off yesterday was really therapeutic because my words of kindness, I got to see Joseph Moran in person for the first time ever. We never met in person despite gaming together almost every day for 6 years. And then I got to see Kyle Stevenson and Mike Towndrow. Kyle, of course, from 6-1 Indie and the Trophy Room, Mike Towndrow from 6-1 Indie, and I both work with Vicarious PR. It was just so cool how natural it all felt to get to hang out together and see everybody. Like the hugs were real and spending time together. We went to Limited Run Games, the store, and like walked around and saw that. I know we bumped elbows with developers in this bar we were in. We didn't. That wasn't our focus. We didn't talk to anybody, but like we could just, you could see it, you know. It was just really fun. So I had a great week for that reason. My students were awesome. I got to get caught up on work. Gaming was great. Apart from discussions of Modern Warfare 3's campaign, nobody blew up my notifications for being, anything. So I had a great week.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. I liked something the internet did not. Shocker, Luke Lohr liked something the internet did not. But it was great, man. I had a good week. So
that's good, dude. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad you got some time off. I didn't get time off, but that's okay. I had plenty of time afterwards to chill out. I took down the Halloween decorations and we put up a couple little like Thanksgiving style stuff. I'm not a Thanksgiving person, but I didn't want to. I've already had like 2 cartons of eggnog and some Christmas music playing, so I'm there.
First of all, that's disrespectful. It is too early for Christmas. Knock that off.
No.
If you're a monster if you're skipping Thanksgiving. Not because I believe in the holiday or not, whatnot, but like it's time to spend with your family and celebrate. And Santa's got no place in Thanksgiving. I'm just saying that.
Okay. Well, first off, I hate my family, so they can go do their own thing.
You like your wife, like your whatever family is to you in a good way.
Yeah, both of us are chill with not having Thanksgiving. Like we're good. We'll take the 4-day vacation and just do something else. No, we don't bother with that. We like to go out to a nice dinner on Thanksgiving. We like to try a new restaurant.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool thing to do. That's a nice tradition. What are your words of kindness this week? I see some cool names that I like in the notes.
Yeah. So this week I wanted to shout out PTK Blam because they reached out and wanted to see if I could join up for the Shop podcast today. Technically, I'll be recording with them later this week or this day. And I love when I get those, like he puts out a poll like every week and I always like check it out and vote on it and stuff. But It's fun to get invited onto shows. It's fun to be able
Mhm.
to like jump on and chat with other people that you don't normally chat to about some of the topics that like we're going to be talking about today. That I'm really looking forward to hearing our conversation about it. But then I get to have a different conversation with them like later on, and I don't know, dude. That's just it's kind of cool. I love doing that. And then the other one is Murphy Lives, who brightened my week with a tweet that they put out where not only did they have a really beautiful photo of like their gamer section in their corner of their room that has like a whole bunch of really cool like Sea of Thieves theme stuff and a really nice PC with lighting and nice curved monitors and whatnot.
Mhm.
But they just they're like, hey, just sitting down to listen to the 300th episode of Keelhauled, and I can't wait. And I'm like,
Cool.
oh, dude, that just made me really happy because hitting 300 this week was low key, but it was kind of like a nice mile marker in my podcasting life. I've done 300 straight episodes of Keelhauled since February of 2018, and to me that's the highlight. Whether people listen or not, like I made it to 300 episodes, which we'll get there. We're soon, but it was cool.
It's so cool to me. I don't think we gave it due credit. I don't even know if we talked about it last week,
We
that
mentioned
you
it.
hit that milestone. Did we
Yeah,
mention it?
yeah. I'm pretty sure
Uh,
we mentioned it.
did we? Okay, good. Well, I'm proud of you and happy for you, and, like, that was my that was a highlight of my Monday, was getting to retweet that and seeing that.
Hmm.
That was cool.
Yeah,
So, I know how hard it is to do a show solo because I did it so long until you got here,
yeah.
um, and it's just that's a lot to be proud of. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, especially when you do it on one game. As we've seen with like other games like that are not doing well right now, like it's tough to do content around one game, man. You're never sure like if that game something happens or something
mhm,
happens to that studio, it's not always like grass is green
mhm.
feeling, it's kind of a shame. So I'm just grateful that Rare's a really good company and that they're still putting life into this game. So
They
can't
really are too. Like, they
yeah.
really are.
Yeah, I know they've got troubles and stuff like that, but down the line, they'll work all that stuff out. I think it's just a matter of this is still kind of like their trial. Like they've been
Mhm,
working on this first games as a service for the last 5 years. I think the lessons that they're learning from this are what they're putting into Everwild,
mhm.
but it's good studio to follow.
It's, I don't mind derailing just a briefly. It's interesting to watch Sea of Thieves become one of Xbox's most important franchises, even with the addition of Bethesda and Activision Blizzard, because of those lessons that are learned. And if you consider that, like, we saw PlayStation at one point was trying to make 12 live service games, and now they recently come out and said
That's
we're
right.
reducing that to 6. And then
Yeah.
WB making a very offensive statement in my mind, saying they're trying to make all their stuff live service, which really made me sad. But to
Yeah.
see that take place and then look over at one of the few things from the Xbox One generation that Microsoft really nailed, which was
Hmm.
Sea of Thieves, and then to a lesser extent State of Decay 2, like the live service content improvement, that stuff. For any flaws that those things have, it was neat to see that. And Sea of Thieves remains strong because it's wholly unique. You
Yeah.
and I talked about this somehow in a previous conversation, that there is nothing like it. Like, you can look at other live service games and see competition,
Yeah.
but truly Sea of Thieves is in its own section of the gaming sphere. Destiny has competition, Call of Duty, Fortnite, they have competition. Sea of Thieves is wholly unique, and Xbox and Rare specifically deserve credit for that.
Yeah. To come up with a game as hard as it was for them to make that in like Unreal Engine and stuff, like they managed to make a C game and make a C game that's multiplayer. That's like it doesn't matter where you're from. Like there's no servers separating like North America and Brazil and China and Europe and stuff. Like it's all together. Like you spawn
Mhm,
in an area wherever you log in based off of your IP, but you can join anyone's server. It's like doesn't matter. That
mhm,
is amazing. And one of the small things that never really gets touted is the voice to text can translate like on the fly
mhm.
languages that are not your language. So
That's
whatever
so
your
cool.
default language is, it will translate other people's voice to text to that, which is kind of bonkers.
That is kind of bonkers. Yeah, that is kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's nuts. Well, I want to give a shout out to our patrons and do some really cool housekeeping.
Yeah.
Um, the first thing I want to say is that the merch store for Xbox Expansion Pass is live. Very unexpected that it turned around this quickly. We showed off some of the merch on last week's episode. I got my card wallet here.
Got my car
We put
wallet.
out tweets. It is now live. Link in the description. Um, I think it's very unique, different from other merch stores for other shows. Not t-shirts per se, not stickers per se, but like engraved card wallets, engraved mugs, patch hats, something
I like the
different
patch
and
hat.
unique. Me too. I think it's cool that it suits our XEP, not quite being traditional in some ways. I really, really like it. And I hope that those of you that were interested, we had a lot of people asking about merch. If you're interested, rock on and enjoy it. And I want to shout out DJ Hero once again for putting this together for the listeners. He did this. This is him. Um, and the stuff's very high quality. I'm very impressed consistently by it. I kept my cup up here to show off, but like
Yeah.
these tumblers are really nice, and I just love the engravings. They
Yeah.
look beautiful and they're very customizable. So that's there. Link in the description. Shout out to DJ Hero for that, for sure. Um, yeah, I'm honored and scared that we have a merch thing. It
Yeah.
makes me so nervous. Like, what if nobody does it? But also like, cool.
Yeah.
I do want to also shout out Extra Life is live, and recently we are wrapping up the donations that XEP put together in the month of September. They're finally hitting out to the last people. $25 went to Ian. I put it in the notes. Where'd I put it? Oh,
Runkle.
Ian Runkle. By request of Butch4969, we did an additional $25 to Ian for his Extra Life campaign, and we also just sent, as of recording now, $25 to the trophy room, who is in the moment right now doing their Extra Life campaign. So that is $200 from the XP patrons plus the 50 that you threw in, and I threw in a bit as well. Pretty darn cool, all things
Yeah.
considered. Very honored that you guys were willing to support XP on Patreon and thus let us do that for the trophy room, or not for Extra Life. Thank you guys. So let's read some patrons. Let's read some patrons.
Yeah.
So if you are supporting XCP over on patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass, thank you so much. You guys are keeping the lights on and the content coming. Our tier 2 and 3 shout outs for this week. I believe it's your turn, Logan.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I can't remember.
We're going to say yes.
Okay. All right. So tier 2 and 3 shout outs. This week it's going to be Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Trickster, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all so much for your love, for your support. It really does help do all the things that Luke wants to do. I know that he's been pushing on me that he wants to get me Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I told him he's insane. Save that money in case we decide to do like an XEP trip and we want to use the funds to like pay for plane tickets or hotel rooms or beers. You know, those are all things that I think would be fantastic for us to be able to do in the future. And having dreams like that are possible because of Patreon. So thank you.
I have been holding off because I keep wanting to buy it for you. And I'm like, no. So, guys, I am getting back to doing interviews. My schedule is starting to free up a bit. I've scheduled the Immortals of Avium interview. Very excited for that. You can look for that on the channel very soon. Also talking to the developers of Achilles Legends Untold. And The Invincible is in scheduling. We'll see if we're able to lock that down, but excited to get back to interviews. So patrons, if that was one of your jams, back to that, which is cool. And Creator Talk is coming back as well. Just time was the enemy. But we've got a lot of news from this week, Logan. Let's start with Modern Warfare 3 since you mentioned it. Obviously, we talked a lot about the campaign last week. I was in the minority in enjoying it, but I recognize the flaws that a lot of people said. I still maintain that I don't think 4s and 5s are quite accurate. I think they're a bit too low on that scale for the amount of impressive visuals, gameplay, smooth elements that I had there. But I recognize the flaws. People are saying that it just feels like DLC. It's an asset flip. I don't see asset flip. I do recognize the DLC argument. It is short, but I like the open combat missions. That said, the news for this week, as the game is now fully launched and reviews are in progress for multiplayer, I've played a little bit of the multiplayer and it feels way better than 2, which is cool because 2 was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, very smooth,
Huh.
very good. Cleaner, I think, is the right way to put it, and which makes sense. Like, this is an uptick of an
Yeah.
established product, so like neat. It really shows kind of its live service upgrade. Um, it's probably too disingenuous to truly use this analogy, but the idea is there. Like the upgrade that Fortnite got from last gen to this gen, it kind of feels like that. It's all the same, but it's a little better.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that, but that might be too much of a jump. But either way, like once you play it, I think you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the MWZ mode, which is zombies, which is just DMZ PVE with
Yeah.
zombies. I'm really stoked for that. That's what I think a lot of games are going for and miss the mark. And I played a little bit of it. And again, our review of this will be more next week, but I'm excited to play some zombies. The part that I think is newsworthy is that reports are coming out that this game was developed in just 16 months, which lends credence to the idea that at one point it was an expansion and then was retooled to be the last kind of boxed element of the Activision era before Xbox stepped in. Really big bummer there that it was so much crunch. We know that Call of Duty is that. For all intents and purposes, the overall product, I think, delivers a great deal for your money, but it depends on what you play. I'm bummed that this happened, but I expect that in future we don't see these news titles now that Activision is under the Xbox umbrella, thanks to a lot of the reorganization stuff that's going to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a real shame. And I've been watching a lot of the zombie mode
Mm-hmm.
online through streamers, and I've been excited to get into it. I think it's something that will definitely be up my alley. Having the 3 different tiers available for, like, as far as like the difficulty level, gives you a sense of like, okay, if you just want to jump in and do some fun dumb stuff, then you can stay in like level 1 and level 2 pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really, really want to go for that level 3 stuff, you're going to have to work on upgrading your weapons and getting
Mm-hmm.
experience. And that all seems really cool. And having like 45 minutes to just play around in that zone for a while and kind of see what you can do just looks really cool. It just seems like it is definitely DMZ, and there's
Mm-hmm.
other groups in there, but there's
Mm-hmm.
no PvP aspect to it. So
Exactly. I love that.
yeah, like you just get to go around and mow down zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because there's a point where you get deep enough into the zone that you realize that the zombies can mow you down. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when things get a little harrowing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really fun. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that aspect of it, because just shooting like the one hit, one kill zombies, it's okay. But really the goal is that is the feeder zone to get you the gear that you want to be able to start dipping into the higher stuff, so you can start getting some of those upgrades that are kind of customary to zombies in Call of Duty. Like, you're used to going around trying to find like how you can upgrade your weapon and get
Mm-hmm.
the higher damage and stuff like that. And that's definitely in this, but you're going to have to step foot into that level 2 zone if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm so stoked for this aspect of the game because I've been really enjoying Modern Warfare 2. I really have. And I know that that tunes a lot of people out. But the campaign and the PvE is what keeps me in, because as my reflexes go as I get older, my eyes are genuinely obviously I had to have emergency eye surgery 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
It's my eyes are not as sharp. So I'm not as sharp. But the chance to play PvE and enjoy the good gunplay and stuff, that makes me really happy. And so I'm really excited for this aspect of the game um, to play through and enjoy. And that's, to me, the part that I guess I'm just so stoked for is getting to play more Call of Duty gunplay, but relaxed. Enjoy, turn my
Yeah.
brain off, not feel pressure to get a PvP score, because when we play, I've got a good 30 minutes where I'm ace. I'm good. I'm better than our group. I can handle it. And then
Yeah.
after that, it's like because I just get
Yeah.
tired and fatigued, and it happens. It's just what happens. So I'm stoked for that.
I think the normal like kind of sense that we have like when we're playing like Fortnite or something, the more chilled atmosphere,
Hmm.
like I think that will translate well over to Call of Duty Zombies because I think
Hmm.
that the pacing is similar.
Yeah.
Like we're usually better than most of the lobbies that we're in,
Hmm.
and we usually come out, top 10, top 5 most of the time.
Yep.
And I think with zombies having that kind of like just running around looting
Hmm.
aspect of the game is really
Yeah.
fun. I think that's what I like most about those games is just running around trying to find better gear. It's what I like
Hmm.
about Diablo. It's what I like about Destiny, stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I think that this will serve well. It is a shame to address like the reports about the 16-month crunch
Hmm.
that they really and I think that will definitely sway a lot of people's opinions on whether or not they want to spend like the $70 for this because yeah, it is kind of an uptick from like Fortnite OG to like Fortnite like, with ray tracing and stuff, but it that does come at a higher cost with Call of
Hmm.
Duty Modern Warfare 3 and I
Hmm.
think that it's a fair judgment to say like, hey, if all we're getting is a little bit smoother gameplay, a little bit better like multiplayer and stuff, we're getting more maps in the new zombie mode with a weird campaign,
Hmm.
that may be something that I can hold off on.
Hmm.
I'll try to live within the zeit or live outside the zeitgeist and wait for it to go on sale because usually it'll go on sale.
Yeah, it usually does. I'll be interested to see just kind of how the future, and this is not a new concept, and I talk about this with Ains on and off shows. I'm excited to see how Xbox manages Call of Duty going forward. How do they handle the live service, the content delivery, that kind of stuff? What is the approach that Xbox takes to keep Call of Duty alive, but also make it better for developers, free up studios? And I read an anecdote a few weeks ago, and I wonder if this doesn't bleed into our Mikey Barra comments. But essentially, when Phil Spencer visited Activision Blizzard, they tried to put together a quick presentation and show things off, and they got there and it was like, no, I'm not here for that. I'm here to tell you that I'm supportive of you guys. I want to support what you all are creating. I'm not here to number crunch you. I want you to be your studio. And I'm paraphrasing, but in large part that's very encouraging to see that they were panicked and they were thinking that this was a Bobby Kotick style, uh, higher ups are coming to make sure you're doing what you do. But Phil Spencer and his team got there and he's like, no, make your video games. We got it. Because Activision Blizzard was all a content play. And now, per some comments from Matt Booty that we'll get to, there's content on the way. And Xbox is in a really good place, I think, going forward for a lot of reasons. A lot of our news stories tangentially tie together that Xbox is in a really good place now.
Yeah. Yeah. Having that many studios under one umbrella means that your content delivery under like the Xbox label
Mm-hmm.
is sound, that you aren't going to have to really worry about like, will they have content? Like that shouldn't be like before we used to say like, is Game Pass a value? Yeah, Game Pass is definitely the best value in gaming. Then we used to say like, okay, well, when is Xbox going to have games? Well, Xbox is going to have games from now on. It may not always be something that PlayStation fans will be like, oh, that's my bag. But they are going to have games. And those
Mm-hmm.
games are going to be something for a little bit of something for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
which I think that is better than curating so nichely that your game exclusives from the multiple studios that you have
Mm-hmm.
can all be like boiled down to third person action adventure over the shoulder game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a dangerous territory to be in because it doesn't, if one of those misses and that was like one of the two that you have in the next like couple of years, then that's a bummer because that's not going to help your student. That's going to cause issues. But
Yeah.
to hear about like Mike Ybarra's comments on Xbox, and I think it was Rod Ferguson had talked about how they had been preparing a presentation for Phil and them to come
Mm-hmm.
in to kind of see like, okay, here's where the studios are at, here's what the game plan looks like for the next couple fiscal years and stuff, and to have them kind of realize like No. This is just like a sweetheart situation. Like we're just coming in to come see how things are doing. Make sure that your room's clean and that's fine. But we also just want to make sure that you're having a good time. Like it's Phil Spencer opening the door and saying, "Are you winning, son?" And then
Hmm.
like having Blizzard and Activision being like, "Yeah, Dad." And then that's it. That's all it needs to be.
I think I was really uplifted to see that news story. If it was Rod Ferguson, which I believe you, but like to see his comments, to see Mikey Barra's comments about how Phil Spencer is approaching the teams and giving creative freedom. We've got a lot of quotes in our notes just about how Spencer and his team, and Spencer, we say this a lot. Spencer is the word we use, the person that's heading up stuff, but it's his culture team that is bringing it in to see what they're bringing in, and that the new Xbox is about support and help and bringing great content, but not crunching, not demanding. I'm very encouraged to see that now this Activision, uh, not coalition, this Activision group, everything that's under the umbrella now of Xbox as reorganization takes place, they'll hopefully be able to catch their breath a little bit. They'll be able to enjoy making the content, because that is something that we've seen Xbox do for Bethesda in a lot of ways, do for In Exile, for Obsidian. We've heard a lot of these stories. Hey, make what you want to make. Take your time. And without that, you don't get Pentiment, you don't get Bleeding Edge, you don't get Grounded. And sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But you don't get that creative freedom that allows people to feel like they can try things. And again, maybe it's a Grounded, maybe it's Bleeding Edge, but both are supported. Execute your vision. And now that Game Pass is a delivery device for on the consumer side, the scary investment approach of like, oh, do I pay $70? Do I pay the $100 Call of Duty? No, you can just enjoy it when it hits Game Pass. And if it's for you, there you go. Um, I'm excited by those realizations, those possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I saw some comments this week about how Phil thinks that he wants to consider Nintendo fans Xbox gamers as well. And talking to like as far as like Game Pass and stuff goes, it constantly makes me wonder like, will we start to see more of a relationship between Nintendo and Xbox and having Game Pass available on the Switch for cloud streaming so that they can kind of get a piece of that market as well too? Because with as much content as they're putting out, there's definitely titles that are on Game Pass that could run on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But cloud streaming, I think, fixes a lot of that. And I think that there's a lot of goodwill between those studios, especially now that, Activision and Xbox is kind of like promised Call of Duty to come to the Switch. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see like how that's going to work,
Mm-hmm.
especially like the news about Larian Studios and the Xbox Series S.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And that Larian Studios thing, I think, is going to have impact on a great deal of the gaming industry as a whole, as they are able to extract more performance out of hardware that is, reportedly weaker in many ways. But for anyone that's unaware, the Baldur's Gate 3 devs, the big conversation around Baldur's Gate 3 and Xbox was that they were not able to get the game in parity on the Series S. They could do it on the X, it would match the PlayStation versions, but they couldn't get it to run on the S. And that opened up a number of conversations from us and many other content creators, analysts, journalists. Everybody was wondering, like, why not? And from the most inflammatory to the most conservative, is the Xbox Series S holding things back? And some people made these grand gestures that it was or wasn't. And I'll tell you, playing my Series S, which I do quite often, seeing the most recent COD, seeing Alan Wake 2, and so many other games just run so perfectly on the Series S, it was always in the back of my mind, like, I don't feel like it's the S per se. That's
Yeah.
the issue. But the big cool thing is that the Baldur's Gate engineers, they were able to figure out a 34% VRAM optimization while making their port. And to me, like, I don't 100% know what that means, but the cool part is they were able to extract more performance that could eventually impact the Series X version, the PS5 version, and allows the game to run extremely well on the Series S. The CEO of Larian came out and was the one that reported this. even showing performance graphs. The reason that's interesting and important is that he, as uh, a voice in the gaming industry, the CEO of one of the Game of the Year contenders, if not the Game of the Year winner, had publicly said like, "Hey, we haven't been able to get this on Xbox Series S," and so he was used as a weaponized voice in the console wars. Well, now he's coming out and saying, "Nope, things are looking good for Xbox," and that lends credence to the idea this is coming this year, Logan.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely. I think it's actually going to get announced as a release date for like a shadow drop on the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the the timing around it. They were targeting kind of like December and stuff. This is what I think is very interesting. Like, and I was reading through an article that Jez Corden had put out over on Windows Central this week that basically kind of talked about how Jez feels like he was wrong about the Series S and it holding back gaming in general
Mm-hmm.
for like this generation.
Mm-hmm.
And having something like Baldur's Gate 3 be as popular as it is from Larian Studios, having them do really, really well, and then being the one saying like the Xbox Series S just isn't powerful enough to handle it. And
Mm-hmm.
then them going back, getting the time that they need, having Phil Spencer at Gamescom say like, we are sending engineers over to them to go like help them with this,
Mm-hmm.
helps give an understanding that, look, guys, it's not the hardware, it's the engineers. It's
Mm-hmm.
the developers. The developers have always been the problem with like it's I hear the same thing with other people that are like, oh, the Series S, you can't develop for it. And I'm like, no, because I'm pretty sure other studios have better games
Mm-hmm.
that are able to develop for it. So
When I see
it's
Alan
not,
Wake 2,
yeah. Alan Wake 2,
goodness.
Diablo 4, Call of Duty. There are plenty of really good games that are available in the Series S, and they didn't bat an eye about that whole parity clause.
Mm-hmm.
But the smaller studios, the independent studios out there, the ones that don't have the experience or the energy or the time or the funds, make up excuses for this. And this has been my stance. They are constantly making excuses as to why it's not easy enough to do that. And I've even had like there's been quotes from some of the producers over at Rare who are constantly getting flagged at for Sea of Thieves and how the Xbox One is holding back the performance for Sea of Thieves. And even they've been like, it's not the hardware. It
Mm-hmm.
really isn't the hardware. There's other issues, but it's not the hardware that's holding it back. Like if the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox One is not holding back Sea of Thieves, the Series S most definitely isn't holding back most games. It's usually a time and knowledge difference between like studios. So what I would say to this is if studios are having trouble getting that parity between their games, between the S and the X,
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft needs to do a better job of doing that. Like you look at Nintendo first party games, they all live and breathe on those little discs. Like everyone else is like, nah, you have to download like an extra 50 gigs for our game. We don't know how Nintendo gets their Zelda to be like 24 gigs. We just don't understand it. But they do.
It is. It is. I'm looping back just to one of your points. I still have a hard time believing the Xbox One doesn't hold back Sea of Thieves, but it's a
Yeah.
full testament to that. I don't know. Like I don't know these things, and I shouldn't be the guy. I am using myself as an example, but I'm really applying this to the inflammatory content creators, analysts, journalists out there. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a developer, so it's not up to me to make that the narrative. You know,
Yeah.
that's important. If they are saying no, that's not what it is, then okay. Like I need there is a level of trust that should be had. There's also a level of trust and skepticism that should come as well, but I shouldn't be making that the narrative. There was a studio or a game that released on PlayStation 5 in the last 2 weeks that got pretty bad reviews, but it had weaponized the console wars to try and sell. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. I start with an E, but it was a game that was saying like we could only do this on the PS5, and then it launched, and it's just like, brr. And that's not the way to sell your game is to make it a console war element. It was a third party indie
Yeah.
game, and it just doesn't make sense. And it's nice to see, I suppose, a bit of justification that the Series S is a great place for you to play. And then you talk about Jazz's article as a good point as well. the Series S is incredible. Like, if I didn't know better half the time, I wouldn't even realize I was on my S versus my X, except that I know because I can look at it. Like, for it to
Yeah.
play Alan Wake, for it to play so many of the great games that are out, like Immortals of Avium, but for all intents and purposes, one of the most beautiful like facial animation games and beautiful colors. Unreal Engine 5 looks wonderful on an S.
Yeah.
It is interesting to watch for sure.
I think one of the main points that Jez's article wanted to address that I don't want to let kind of die on the vine there is that the Series S is a $300 price point. It is on par with a Nintendo Switch, but it is offering the next generation experience at that price point. That is not something that PlayStation can get down to with their digital editions. It'd be great if they could. I would much rather have like one of those because the disk drive is nice, but I use it sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
But $300 is a fantastic deal to get into. And we had a Black Friday sale where you could buy a Series S for $200. Like
Mm-hmm.
just buy-in was $200, and I didn't do it at the time. I really should have. But it's one of those things like if you want to play these games and you don't have $500, which is a very high cost for consoles, uh, that is an opportunity there. Now compare the price of like a $500 console that offers like next gen experience to a $1,500 PC or a $5,000 PC.
Mm-hmm.
Like an Nvidia 4090 graphics card is like 1,700 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 3 Xboxes, and you're getting comparable quality
Mm-hmm.
and the same library of games for a third of the cost of just the graphics card. And that to me is like insane. Like, I don't know how they're able to make that hardware work, but it's nice to see that Larian, who was blaming the Series S for the VRAM shortage being the main cause of why they aren't able to get the split screen co-op for their game, to launch, was able to work with Microsoft with the help of like Phil's people
Mm-hmm.
to find that 30% reduction in like VRAM cost,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like the biggest issue with the Series S is just the amount of VRAM that's available, because you're going to get the 1080p regardless. Like the 1080p or the 1440p at 60 frames or 30 frames, like that's the expected. But the CPU and the RAM itself is like the same. The storage space and stuff is all the same as the X. It's just that graphics unit that is the big issue there. But
Mm-hmm.
34% reduction means that they found enough headroom to be able to bring co-op for the Series S, for couch co-op as far as we can understand it. I'm expecting this to do really well though.
I am too, and I'm really anxious to see Black Friday sales for the console, both of them.
Yeah.
We had a cool news story last week that PlayStation had been outsold by Xbox in Japan, and not by much. And like, let's not make that inflammatory. I saw reports that it's happening a second time. I tried to find like official reports. I saw it on the socials, and it lined up, but I couldn't find like a
The actual
VGC
numbers.
article or
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't find like not on socials numbers,
Mm.
but that could just be a few days removed from when we record that we see it. But the reason I think that's so interesting is that Xbox is really firing on all cylinders right now, selling well worldwide. PlayStation's getting that refresh. That could be part of the reasoning, but that Series S is just this continued weapon in disguise. They did the newer model that has more memory,
Yeah.
and as somebody who I did it. I bought the expansion card. I got it for 150 bucks, a
Oh,
full
good.
terabyte expansion card. It's super small,
Yeah.
super small. I didn't realize it. But to get that terabyte, that suddenly I moved things off of my Series X internal onto that thing. They move at 5 and 6 gigs a second,
Yeah.
which is insane. But now that makes my Series S that much more usable. I can just pop it out, go downstairs, pop it in, and play.
Yeah.
And that's wild to me. But it has made the Series S even more accessible because it's small, it's lightweight. I brought it with me to Raleigh when I was potentially going to stay overnight last night. Didn't know what we were going to do, and it was just like HDMI out, power cord, boom. and it's this big. It fits in my bag, and all that memory is in that little expansion card. It was just remarkable to me in a world of ROG Allies and Steam Deck OLEDs that are coming,
Yeah.
and Switches and PlayStation 5 redesigns and Xboxes. It was like the Series S is just incredible for
Yeah.
what it is and the money, and it's just I'm consistently in awe of it.
Yeah. The whole memory thing, and people can go back and find me quoted on this. I think that Microsoft really won the memory as far as expecting you to have more than one console. If you had more than one console and you had an expansion card and you had games on there that you knew you wanted to play like between the systems, you could just pull the card out and slide it into the other card and it just worked. And that was that is not something that you get with, like, it is effectively like an NVMe card that is plug and play the way like a USB drive is. And that's just insane to me. Whereas like Sony won the memory expansion thing because they went with industry standard that was going to eventually drop in cost. So you can pick up like a terabyte for $70 on sale. Whereas this, you can find a deal and it'll be Western Digital, but you're still going to be paying $150 for a gig or a terabyte's worth of space. But yeah, it's great to see that the Series S can be as low of an entry point as $300, $350 if we want to get the terabyte version, and then add another $150 on top of that to get like 2 terabytes worth of space. I have 2 memory cards for my Series X's. I've got a terabyte and a 500 gig one, and those are constantly full. And it's nice having that extra space on those cards. Like one of these days, I might actually like go and get one of those 2 terabyte ones and just like live and breathe off of that. But I might sell my 50.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm loving this thing, and I've had it for a day, and it is changing my comfort level because now I can move things off of my external, like Series X and S games that can't play off of it, like Diablo. And Sea of Thieves are good examples. I was able to move them off of the external and make them usable, and now it's easier to jump in and play. I was able to go in and play uh, Street Fighter 6 just right off that card
Yeah.
in a way and enjoy it the way it's meant to be enjoyed. And that was just cool. Like that, I liked that. Made
Yeah.
me very happy.
And you don't think about it. It just works. It just boots up like a normal. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. And I'm anxious to go downstairs with it just because like my wife's out of town this weekend. I'm just gonna pop that card, go downstairs and play on my S so I'm near my dog. Cool.
Yep.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Big time. Big time. Let's see, Logan, kind of tangentially related, I suppose. The PlayStation 5 Slim detachable disk drive. Would you want to talk about that real quick? Because that and the Steam Deck, the new Steam Deck, those are kind of our hardware elements, which are competitors to the Series S and X in depending on how you look at it. I think those are both worth talking about.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So like we've had conversations about the whole like should Xbox do a mobile device, a mobile handheld, and the Xbox or the PlayStation Portal just launched. So like people finally have their hands on that and stuff. So Steam Deck, Valve just announced that there's a new OLED version of the Steam Deck that's coming out. It's going to be at the same price points as their current lineup is, except for the lowest tier. The lowest tier is still going to be that kind of $300 price point where it's like the LCD screen. That, which is a fantastic deal, man, to get portable gaming at the level of that, plus have like your full Steam library available. That's a really good deal. You have to do a lot of swapping and stuff like that, but the fact that they're doing an OLED refresh shows that the Steam Deck is a beast of a system, and that it is a handheld that will continue to redefine what handhelds are for gaming in general, which pushes me to the idea that maybe there's space in the next generation of Xbox where they come out with their own kind of Steam Deck thing that is more like native experience. Because I know like Phil Spencer has his ROG Ally and stuff, and that's cool. But you know, like just like the backbones that have the Xbox branding on them, I kind of want like an Xbox version of like the Steam Deck. So there's new OLEDs coming out. Uh, just everything's better. It doesn't. It looks the same, but the screen's a lot better. They bumped up the battery life. It's got more storage capacity in there, which is nice. The screen's a lot brighter too because of the OLED. It's got
Mhm.
HDR. It's also going to be a little bit lighter, and it charges faster. Still has that Wi-Fi 6 now as well too. So games are going to install or download faster as well. So
Mhm.
overall, just it's great to see that it is doing well and that they are ready to bump it up to the next like little iteration
Mhm.
and see like if a Steam Deck 2 comes out, like what kind of improvements can they do. But I think they're going to wait and see like what Nintendo does to kind of gauge
Mhm.
the market, because Nintendo's Switch is supposed to get its successor in 2024,
Mhm.
and that will say a lot about where the handheld market goes, because at 130 plus million units that they just announced, the Switch is doing well, and
Mhm.
they are going to be the ones that are the trendsetters. Steam will come out with their next version after they see what the Switch has done and how they can kind of emulate or backwards engineer kind of some of that stuff,
Mhm.
reverse engineer.
Right. The roadmap for 2024 to me is going to be really cool to see because we anticipate new Nintendo hardware. We anticipate new first party games from Xbox, and Matt Booty in a recent interview alluded to that. I'm also really curious to see what PlayStation's got up their sleeve because we don't know much about their future lineup in the immediate future. We know Wolverine, we don't know
Yeah.
when, and factions might be a thing, might not. Really curious to see kind of what happens uh, for PlayStation, but Nintendo, we're expecting new hardware. Big deal. I think that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Um, Xbox, Matt Booty was talking about it with, or rather, I should say, in a recent interview, different things that are on the way. We know there is going to be Era History Untold, which is a game I'm unfamiliar with. I know it's a PC Game Pass exclusive.
Hmm.
And Towerborn are also in 2024. But he also made comments to say that Hellblade 2 will come later in 2024. I
Yeah.
fully anticipate that's happening. We're going to see that at Game Awards.
Oh,
I think
really?
my Game Awards uh predictions right now, Logan. You're going to see Spider-Man expansion, you're going to see Starfield expansion, you're going to see Hellblade 2 and Tears of the Kingdom something. Those
This
are
is
my
for Game Awards 2024.
no, well, I think you're going to see them at this Game Awards for
Really?
2024 relevant
You're a
information.
madman.
You think so? You don't think you're going to
I
see some
think you're
Spider-Man stuff or some Starfield stuff?
no way, dude. It is too early to be talking about expansions for Spider-Man 2. It is way
False.
too early.
False.
Bro, they
False.
they haven't even sold like all of the stuff that they were playing. Like they have like another 6 months of like pushing Spider-Man 2 in the marketing to get people past the holidays to be like, all right, it's like Christmas is past. It's time to start thinking about the future, and our revelations are gonna, like our New Year's Eve or resolutions are gonna be to come out with an expansion. I don't think we're seeing anything Spider-Man 2 except for continued promotion for Spider-Man 2 until at least like March, April at the earliest. Like I don't think they're anywhere close to like what are they working on next.
I think they're absolutely going to tell us. I think they're going to say
Wow.
Miles Morales, this or that or something is happening. I think that's exactly what's going to go on. I
Dang.
think.
Okay.
But
I
I also think Starfield needs to take advantage of its platform, like the Game Awards. Everyone watches. Xbox just bought
yeah.
XYZ. Starfield needs to be on display because it won a golden joystick. I have no
Yeah.
idea what that means. Let me just be real clear. I have no clue what that actually
The
means in
golden
any way.
joysticks.
Yeah, but like I don't
The
know what that means. Is what I'm saying.
it's
Like
just
it's just
another award ceremony thing. It's not
that's fine.
like the golden joysticks. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that is more of like the industry kind of patting each other on the back.
Okay, like Dice esque maybe.
Maybe Dice is the one that I'm thinking of.
Either way, kind of a null issue. The bigger
Yeah.
deal is like cool, but I think I think Starfield is two big patches away from being a game of the year contender. You got to reduce those loading screens. And you got to have more to do in terms of discovery.
They just put out a patch.
Tell
They
me, no, big patch,
Oh, yeah.
big patches is what I'm saying. Not like quality of life. Like they need to clean up some of the loading screens and give you stuff to do. But like they're doing good stuff. And did you see the beta program they're doing?
No, I didn't.
So on PC, you can now opt in to play the patched versions of stuff early and
Well,
help
that's
them
interesting.
get the mods and stuff cleaned up for full release. So you can opt in on a beta program on Steam and help
Mm.
them basically bring the best version of Starfield to everybody else, which is cool. I think that's great. But I think, like you would expect from a Bethesda joint, uh, it's launching well, but got more to do before it hits its potential.
Yeah, that's a weird one because Starfield is it's a platform. Like we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
seeing content for that for a long time. But I honestly think that most games are going to have a 6-month runtime before they have like enough information to put together like a little teaser trailer on what's going to be the next expansion.
Mm.
Because otherwise, you run the risk of Metroid 4 priming it, and
Mm.
then you're sitting there like, okay, well, we announced it too early. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Fair.
think
I think Metroid Prime 4 is probably just being held for Switch 2.
I think Metroid Prime 4 has had a lot of issues, and they just don't know like what they want that game to be.
Could be.
Um, but yeah. Oh, and by the way, our History Untold, that's that kind of like Civ game that is like you kind of you take control of like pivotal moments through history, and you kind of like change things are so you can kind of I'm trying to think of like what it is. Like you can have it so that Japan has the industrial era as opposed to Europe. And just kind of like change the course of history and how things happen and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like you can give the Mayan civilization the guns instead of the conquistadors.
Hmm.
It's
That's
an
interesting.
interesting one.
Yeah, that is
I think
interesting.
that's more for like Age of Empires and Civilization fans, which is kind of why I think it's a PC exclusive. But Towerborn, I think, will be interesting. We'll have to see how that's going. It was nice to see kind of Matt doing the rounds after their kind of like trip around the Activision Blizzard teams. Them kind of coming out to talk about like some of the stuff that they're looking forward to is nice. Hellblade 2 being so pushed out is interesting because I just saw advertisements through Twitch that had Senua Saga like as part of it. And I was like, oh, this is just trailer footage that we've already seen. But they're already wrapping it into their like kind of Game Pass marketing right now, which means it must be closer than he may be
You'd have
letting
to
on.
think. Yeah, you'd have to think it is.
Yeah.
I'm excited in general just to see the realization, like, what is this game? Because I hope it's more Hellblade plus plus combat. Like I need more combat because I love Hellblade 1, but I want more combat in there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping it is. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm sure that whatever it is, it's gonna be amazing though. Like at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Those people are wizards. Without a doubt, they are wizards.
You know what else is kind of amazing?
What's that?
That we got an announcement for an announcement. I always love announcements for announcements. Like whenever someone comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to be doing something to announce something," and you're like, "Wait, isn't this why not just do the announcement now?" And they're like, "No. We got to get you prepped for it. You're not
You think
ready."
it's to head off leakers? You think?
I think it's to get people to stop storming the stage at Game Awards. That's
All
what
right.
I think this is.
So let's be clear of what we're alluding to.
If you guys haven't heard, Rockstar Games has finally come out and announced that they are going to announce GTA 6 in December, early December. Luke, I think you and I are probably the wrong people to be talking about GTA 6.
Yep. That's nice.
Yeah. I haven't played very much of 5 at all. I own 2 copies of it. I think I've put maybe like 15 minutes into each, and both were free. I genuinely have not like invested my life into GTA 5.
Mm-hmm.
But this was making the rounds. So Rockstar announced that there's going to be a trailer early December for GTA 6.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong inclination that this is going to be a trailer that gets shown off at the Game Awards, given the
Mm-hmm.
timing. And given that the last two times the Game Awards have happened, Jeff has been accosted by people like running up demanding a GTA 6 trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So only fitting that Rockstar get a hold ahead of the Game Awards
Mm-hmm.
announcements and say like, "Hey, we're going to have a trailer. Don't do anything stupid
Mm-hmm.
because this time Jeff might actually just punch you."
He gets, I think it was Kevin Ainsworth. He gets one. Like, he gets to punch somebody,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I think Will Smith should be on standby at any given point, and if the trailer's not there, he heads out there. He's like,
Yeah.
"Well, my time is now."
I just
I'm Grand Theft Auto 5. They tweeted officially it's coming early December. We all think Game Awards, yes. Um, Grand Theft Auto is an important game in the gaming industry. I know I'm gonna play it. I know I'll check it out, but I have zero excitement for it. But it's important. It's neat. Like it's
yeah.
I will enjoy checking it out, but I'm not looking forward to it in some exuberant way.
Do I part of me thinks that this is not a Luke game
Mhm.
because Luke likes superheroes.
Mhm.
And GTA is not a game where you're playing a good person most of the
Right.
time.
Correct.
And I think that kind of rails against your desire to have like upright justice and stuff like that. Like that is kind of like your bag.
Mhm.
Not to say that there's anything negative or wrong about playing like a villain in a GTA or like a morally corrupt person in
Mhm.
GTA. I think a lot of people get their fantasies out that way so that they don't have to be horrible people in real life. I think that's why a
Mhm.
lot of people like Sea of Thieves, because you get to steal and you get to kill and you don't do that in real life.
Mhm.
And with GTA 6, I'm excited for this because I want to see what they're going to do
Mhm.
compared to Red Dead Redemption 2, which I
Mhm.
think Red Dead Redemption 2 is still one of the most beautiful and well realized worlds
Mhm.
I think I've ever seen in games. It's one of those games that if you put on like cinematic mode as you're like following the road on your horse, it is hard to discern like at a passing glance that that is not just a film. And that is a true testament to the time and effort that they're putting into those projects. I'm very interested to see, especially given like what we've seen with the Matrix Unreal Engine demo,
Mhm.
like what worlds can look like from a cityscape perspective, especially with like
Mhm.
cyberpunk and stuff like that. A GTA 6 has me interested because the last time I cared about GTA was Vice City back in like 22.
Mm.
And because of that, I have not had like the memes or all of that hasn't meant anything to me, but it's easy for me to get into Starfield because it's the first installment in a game in Bethesda when I started to care about Bethesda games. It'll be easy for me to get into a GTA 6 because I'll start at the beginning instead of trying to catch up on the last 10 years of what's been going on in GTA 5.
Mhm.
And I think that's important too.
It is. Grand Theft Auto is one of those games that has a wonderful ripple effect on the industry.
Mm,
But you're right. I don't enjoy the extreme satire of 3 was fun at the time
yeah.
because it was like, oh, they're making fun of Lindsay Lohan. Oh, people are dumb. But the amount of real life events in the last 10 years that has been so on the nose for what satire was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a storm the Capitol style mission, a vaccine discussion mission, some sort of like I don't know. There's so many social justice elements that took place in the last 10 years that are going to be that have been memed already and they were satirically true. Make like I don't know if I want to live that over again, but I
Yeah.
also don't know what the game is. They say Bonnie and Clyde was an inspiration, sure, but it is a technical marvel, GTA 5, and I imagine 6 is as well. And like many games, it'll push the industry. And so I'm interested in that respect. I'm sure I'll play it for that purpose. But you're right. I enjoy the justice element of games. Being a good person is fun for me. And we've talked at length about this on the show lately. My state in life, I've not been able to do the high cerebral game or the, deep thought or very negative game. I've needed the point shoot, dumb brain type game for the past few weeks. And I think now that my schedule's freeing up, I'll be able to go back to being more cerebral and reading and whatnot. But you got to be in the right state of mind for some games, and GTA, depending on how you play it, might require kind of your brain to turn off or turn on in different ways. How many people play GTA Online that have never touched the campaign? A lot.
Yeah.
What you get out of it is going to be very much what you go in for it.
I think a lot of it will depend on the flow of the campaign and the missions. If they're small enough and digestible enough, I think that retention will be higher. But a lot of open worlds still suffer from that, choice paralysis issue where you just have too much to do and you're not sure where you want to start things off. And because of that, you're like, I just want to drive around and shoot people at this point because I'm not sure like what I need to do or how to do it. And there's, I run into this problem with World of Warcraft. I've been jumping into that as kind of like an open world testament without things telling me where I need to go and what I need to kill. It is very hard for me to feel like I can progress in a meaningful way. And that is something I'll be interested to see, given how like Zelda has impacted the open world aspect of gaming. If the world is beautiful enough and I know a couple of the main objectives that I need to go do, I can kind of head in those directions. So I'm hoping with a game like GTA 6 that will be something that gets brought over. But that's a much different thing when you're on the ground and like your traversal will have to be across roads and stuff like that. You'll have to drive everywhere. You have to kind of, and that's part of the problem I think that Cyberpunk had is that you just have to drive everywhere or you have to fast travel. Whereas with like Spider-Man 2, you get a fly suit and you just fly around. It's a lot easier to get somewhere. It's fast travels quick and stuff like that. Same thing with the crew. You just jump into the world and you can fast travel wherever you want and poop, you're right there. But with this, it'll be very interesting to see how they design that open world, given how much the open world design has changed in the last 10 years.
Very true. Very true. Either way, it'll be a pinpoint monumental thing. And you have to imagine 2024 is when it releases.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting. I wonder how it looks on the Series S. I wonder if there are any limitations there.
Yeah.
Some technology is incredible, and there are wizards that make games. It'll be really cool to see just what that game does. The irony will be, I think, if it all doesn't happen at Game Awards, that'll be really interesting. But Keeley and Rockstar seem to be pretty much or very closely tied. Closely tied.
I think Keeley knows that having that trailer at the Game Awards is going to be make or break on like whether or not his Game Awards is considered a success. Because I think there's going to be hurt feelings at this Game Awards regardless. There are too many good games, and some really good games are going to get snubbed. And having a GTA trailer kind of alleviates like how was the Game Awards? It was fantastic. We got the GTA 6 trailer. I was like, okay, well, what about the games? Yeah, they happened.
So I am sure we're gonna get the question in a few weeks, but like the snubs of Game Awards are gonna be really interesting.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet that Tears of the Kingdom and Spider-Man are your two snubs. They don't get in there. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom gets it. I don't think Spider-Man gets it. I don't think Starfield's in the conversation. But I would be willing to bet that like Mario Wonder is in there. Baldur's Gate's your winner. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom or Spider-Man gets the look.
It's amazing to me to have people, and granted, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. I'm waiting for the console version to come out.
Same. I'm going off of the vibe, the temperature. I've not played. I think Alan Wake will be in the conversation, but I'm going off temperature, not my personal experience.
It's amazing to think that like Baldur's Gate to me does not appear to do anything that interesting. Like I don't see what I see it being horny, but I don't see people being like, this has changed how video games are played. I'm like looking at Breath of the Wild and I'm watching people build mechs out of
Mhm.
a goofy game where they're like, hey, you can put a stick on another wheel and put a wheel on that other part of the stick, and you've got like half of a ship or half of
Mhm.
a plank that moves and stuff. And people are like, nah, I'm making an auto bot like out of parts, and I'm going and
Mhm.
destroying like entire towns with this Autobot. Like, I don't see that with Baldur's Gate 3. I see people being like, I've never felt like I could make it with this Fae in any other game the way the fidelity has allowed me to do it here. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's okay. I guess that's
That's
what you
nice.
wanted out of this. Witcher 3 was a thing too.
Mhm.
But I guess Witcher got its props. I guess Baldur's Gate 3 is going to get its. I think there's more interesting games out there. I just haven't seen like I haven't been convinced at what Baldur's Gate 3 does better than what Elden Ring did last year, or was it the year before?
Maybe we expect Baldur's Gate 3 to hit Xbox early December.
Yeah.
Maybe you change your mind after playing it, because I know Ellery, they are very high on it, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, like I'm very curious to see like what it is about Baldur's Gate 3 that is so cool. And I've had a couple friends of mine tell me that I will really love it because of the narrative, and I'll get past the turn-based fighting of it because of how good the storytelling and world building in is it. But I don't know, man. Like Zelda's really good,
Mhm.
and we've had some really good games this year. So I don't know
Oh,
why like Zelda would get snubbed over.
well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I think so I had this conversation, similarly with Mike Towndrow yesterday when we got to meet in person. It was cool. 2023 is no longer a possibility in a world where game development cycles and budgets are so bloated. The
Mhm.
PS3 360 era had multiple years in a row of just incredible AAA releases that just blew your mind. Well, we haven't had that in over a decade, except in 2023, and that's a result of the pandemic development times that bumped games at various points. So a lot of the best arrived in 2023, but I don't see a world where we get that regularly. This
No.
year brought us Resident Evil 4 remake, Dead Space remake, Alan Wake. It brought us,
Metroid
let's see what
Prime, Callisto
Metroid
Protocol, Hogwarts Legacy,
Jedi
Star
Survivor.
Wars,
Yep. Street Fighter,
Dead
Diablo,
Island 2, Mortal
Mortal Kombat
Kombat
1.
1,
Yep. Uh, Even Armored Core kind of
Armored
bumped into
Core,
some Sea of Stars in the indie side.
Star
Alan
Ocean,
Wake, Star Ocean, Liza P, Forza Motorsport. I mean, it's Mario
Starfield,
Wonder, Spider-Man,
Mario Wonder,
Starfield.
Mario RPG remake is out this year as well too.
Mhm.
Avatar
It's
is on the docket.
it is on the docket. Phantom Liberty
Yeah.
arrived. I mean, it is truly unique to get a year like this. And so this year's Game Awards, there's no way everybody goes home happy. And yet I argue, well, if you played the games you loved, you went home happy. But I don't I don't know if it's age or whatnot, but I care less and less what IGN, what the Game Awards, what anybody else thinks. Um, I get bothered by what I believe to be disingenuous takes or irresponsible takes, but I don't care if somebody liked or did something that I didn't like. I enjoyed Modern Warfare 3 as the recent example, but I
Yeah.
also enjoyed Redfall and Anthem and Crackdown. And that doesn't make me invalidated, I don't feel, because I also enjoyed the best of the best games. God of War, Ragnarok, and God of War are two of the best games ever made, and I enjoyed those. I love Breath of the Wild. I love so many other high scoring games, and I think sometimes we invalidate or validate people's opinions based on that number, and that's not how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
I'm with you on that because I think the difference is that you're trusting your judgment over other people's judgment for games now.
Mhm.
That's genuinely when you stop to pay attention. When you stop paying attention to critics is when you have a good enough understanding of what your tastes are
Mhm.
that you're not relying on other people's feedback
Mhm.
to kind of not invest to inform whether or not this is going to be something for you.
Mhm.
And we've had so many good games this year that it's easy to say like, okay, Baldur's Gate 3 is probably going to be for me, but I know I'm not going to enjoy the gameplay because I'm not a turn-based guy.
Mhm.
So that will have to be an obstacle, and the game will have to make up for that.
I had a really cool moment that I'm sure some of our listeners have encountered on some level, but content creator that I'm a fan of, and I didn't know until Lord Cognito introduced me. Mr. Matty Plays. He even joined me for a creator talk, and I
Yeah.
really enjoyed talking to him, and I learned a lot about him, and I found that I just really like Matty a lot. He put out a video that said Modern Warfare 3 is a disgrace, and I was like, I don't think that at all. And I was
Mhm.
not offended by it, but I was like, I don't even agree, like not even close. And it didn't bother me at all. I was like, I disagree. Still love
Yeah.
Maddie. Still love the content Maddie makes. Still enjoy the show. Still enjoy viewing it. Still like him a lot. And like I'm sure he doesn't care what Luke Lohr thinks, but like it was cool for me to say like I vehemently disagree. Still lovely. Still enjoy your videos. That
Yeah.
was a cool kind of growth point for me that and this has happened before, but like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, well, I'm done. You know,
Mhm.
like it's not, I disagree. It's not that. And so that was a neat growth point for me is to be able to disagree with somebody vehemently and still enjoy, respect, and appreciate their content and still want to visit their content,
Yeah.
you know?
I want to get into listener questions, but I just want to kind of capsize this and say that there is less and less room these days in different mediums online.
Hmm.
Podcasts are one of the few where you can sit down and have an exchange of ideas and
Hmm.
earnestly listen to the person across from you to hear what they have to say,
Hmm.
and to know that whatever they're saying is something that could change your opinion on something.
Hmm.
And having that, I think, is still a very precious thing to be able to do. And that's where I think reviews can help kind of break through that shell of, well, this is what my expectation of what I want from a game is. And because this game does not have that,
Hmm.
I am not going to be invested in it. And I think having that discourse helps kind of break down that barrier sometimes.
It's a good time, I think, to say shout out some voices that we think help do that. Because when you talk about like having the time, a podcast is a good medium to have that discussion still and it not be inflammatory. Not people don't just jump to the conclusion. They have the debate. They have a discussion. The Nerd Chat is a show for me that I really enjoy for that. That's Daddy D Wally, Chipotle Bear, and such. Like they do a good job at doing that. I also enjoy Jam Pack Sam's takes because I don't agree with Jam Pack Sam on a lot of like FPS type stuff.
Hmm.
But I love Sam. I appreciate it. He's thoughtful. He explains his reasoning, and if I disagree or agree, I can cite what it is I agree and disagree about with him. And I really appreciate when people take the time to do that. It's not just, oh, this is what I think. I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And you're right. You make a good point there. I don't know if there's any that jump into your mind, but I
Oh,
enjoy the nuanced takes.
the Patreon Discord,
Oh
all
yes.
the constant like opinions about like which is the better shooter, Call of Duty or Battlefield 2042.
Hmm.
The discourse that we have there is we have jabs, but it is all kind of like in ways to try and convince each other to play each other's games because it's whatever we happen to have installed.
Yeah, that's true.
But I
That
love
is
it.
true. I do as well. I do as well. But it's always I like when it's fun. Like they
Yeah.
make it fun. So, let's see. Let's go with a couple questions here from our listeners here. I like Anubis, the Xbox gamer, from Twitter. Anubis says, "With Game of the Year time upon us, I think it'd be fun for a Game Pass Game of the Year. What Game Pass game was a service seller for you this year? Just a suggestion for content. Be well." He tagged us and a bunch of other creators. We were included with Iron Lords and kind of funny and uh, DMC Ryan, which really was kind of cool to be included there. I have my answer. Do you want to answer this first, or do you want me to go first?
It has to be Starfield for me. It
Same.
it
Yeah.
has to be. Starfield is it is just a system seller.
Hmm.
It's a fantastic game. I had so much fun with it, and genuinely, like, if you were going to ever like try Game Pass and you wanted to see like what game would be worth jumping into, it has to be Starfield.
Hmm. I think Starfield is the service seller as well. But then if you take a step back, secondarily, like it's the variety in Game Pass. There are so many games across so many genres to be enjoyed in Game Pass that it's not a service seller by one title, it's by like 100. There
Yeah.
are so many games across different levels from indie to AAA that are just worth trying. Like you might love Atomic Heart. You might love the Persona series. Persona 3 and 4 dropped in at the beginning of the year. Hi-Fi Rush might be your jam.
Did,
Forza might be your jam. It's so cool.
did you almost say hi-fi mushroom?
I think I said hi, Myra. I don't know what I was going to say. I know that I mixed it up, but I don't know what I was going for.
What was coming out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I heard it and like tried to reroute,
Yeah.
but I don't know what it was. I got
It's
nothing.
great.
Sorry. Let's go with a question from Colby Myers, which I think is Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer. He wrote in over on Threads, and he is a patron. It says, "What are some of the top games throughout Xbox that are not only must play but also deserve a replay, even though most people don't have enough time to keep up with new games?" Starfield's the easy answer for this one because
Yeah.
replaying Starfield is built into the game. That is a purpose-built thing that they do. But for sure that, and I would argue also any of the Halo games, Master Chief Collection is great. Going through those campaigns on a regular basis is dope. Enjoy that. What about for you?
I would say the Pirates of the Caribbean content for Sea of Thieves
Ooh, that's a good
is a
answer.
must play. Anyone that grew up in near like Disneyland or Disney World that's gone on that Pirates of the Caribbean ride owes it to themselves to jump into that.
I
Trying to
love
think
that
of
DLC.
like
So
other
good.
good Xbox ones.
Worth replaying.
Worth replaying is interesting because I think Starfield kind of falls into that territory, but I think that's through the new game plus,
Mm-hmm.
which I put on hold for the sake of Phantom Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely one that will reward you well for going back and playing through New Game Plus. Like once you complete that campaign, you start off in New Game Plus. It's a much different bag, and I think that's worth going in and playing through again.
Want to give a note that like I mentioned Master Chief Collection, but like the campaigns of Gears and Halo are all like top to bottom. Every game has something to offer, and they're cool. Like marches through history, particularly Gears with the Unreal Engine that they're using there, and the way they
The
tried to change the series while staying true. I really like that.
Yeah, the Judgment Day edition for Gears 1 uh is one that holds up really well nowadays. I think
Ultimate Edition, Ultimate
ultimate,
Edition,
what did I say?
Judgment Day Edition, which makes
Judgment Day.
sense because of Judgment Day, but
Yeah. I wonder why I thought that. I don't know.
it was called Emergence Day, just for the record.
That's oh, you know what it is? I think I'm conflating Juggernaut edition from State of Decay. And I'm like putting words into my mind and trying to come out with the actual answer. But yeah, I think the remakes for Gears 1 really does hold up. It's beautiful, looks great.
Yeah.
I can't think of
Good.
anything else though that I would
I think
say.
those are good answers. Those are good
Yeah.
answers.
All right.
Yeah. Next question comes from Edward Varnell over on Twitter. I can always count on Edward to support the show, and I appreciate him.
Yeah.
Do you think it's time for Xbox to give up the battery system for their controllers? And if not, what makes you think it was a good idea since
Oh,
the 360 days? Also, is it time for Quantum Break 2 to be announced? Should 343 Studios take a stab at it? Yes, it's time to give up batteries for the love. That's just a Duracell deal, by the way. That's the only reason
no,
that's happened. Get rid of batteries.
no,
You're insane. You're a
no.
monster.
I'm actually in the right on this.
All right,
And
tell me why.
okay,
If you talk about lithium ion in the environment, I'm gonna lose it.
I'm gonna tell you right now. If the battery dies in this nice, beautiful Master Chief Edition Xbox Series Elite 2 controller, guess how I'm not going to be using it? Oh, wait, you don't have to because I'm not going to be using it. You don't have to
You
guess.
wire it.
You wire it? I have a 10-foot long living room. Like this is this is here right now. That's fine. But this is only going to hold the charge for so long. You know what doesn't have to hold a charge? Any of the other controllers that have batteries, because I can always buy a rechargeable battery pack. At worst case scenario, I can always have a couple AA's. I can't do that with my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I can't do that with my PlayStation 5 controller. If the batteries die in those, I just have to buy a brand new thing. I
Do you
have
also keep batteries in your refrigerator, you old man?
No, I don't.
The youth don't understand that joke, by the way.
No, they don't. No, I have little battery packs in these, and you know what? These last a few years for sure. And you recharge them the way you would recharge a normal controller. But you know what happens? These things can be taken out. These little battery packs can be removed. And you know why you want to do that? Because over time, lithium ion swells. And when those battery packs start to like change the chemistry swells. And they swell, they start to break the actual internals, or they at worst leak and can cause fires. So at some point, you're going to have to rip the lithium ion batteries out of all the cool little things you got in your house, because eventually those things are going to swell and they're going to crack the shells, and they're going to strip the screws that are holding the little tiny screws that are holding them together. And that's going to suck, because you're going to miss like really cool controllers like this are going to have serious issues in the future when the batteries inside of them have to be ripped out, and you're going to have to do that on your own or have someone else do it, because these are not hard. These can be questionably hard to get into if you're not used to it. Whereas this little battery pack here, I can take to a recycling center and just have them actually recycle it. I can buy a brand new one and stick it into this controller and never have to ever worry about what the next 20 years of this controller's lifespan is going to be if I take care of it, because I can always throw in a couple pair of batteries into it and it just works.
I gotta tell you, I don't know what in the flat earth you're talking about. Recycling centers, we don't do that in the South. Okay, that's a California thing. We like to destroy our environment accordingly. I think battery packs or batteries should go the way of the dodo, and it should all be lithium ion rechargeable. I actually don't care if it's lithium ion. I just don't think we should ever have to worry about batteries. Just plug it up.
You're always going to have to worry about batteries. Just buy a rechargeable battery pack, Luke. Just buy one, and then when you're done, you just take it out and you put that like somewhere else. Like, what are you going to do? Like, okay.
For the record, I have rechargeable battery packs, but yeah, I don't think we should be worrying about AA's anymore.
So there's a difference between like a battery, like, okay, so the battery system for the controllers is the question here. Not are you using AA batteries?
Okay. Let's back off the flat earth edge. I don't think AA's are what they should be doing. That's what I mean. I don't mind. You know, it'd be cool if they just had a battery pack with a controller and you charge those.
They do. The Earth one came out this year and had a rechargeable battery pack that came with it.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, it was the Earth Day celebration one.
But they should develop a program where you recycle those battery packs.
All right,
that'd be cool.
So, sorry, Mr. First World Problems. Not everyone has lithium ion battery packs. Some countries still have to live off of AA batteries.
Well, this is why America does what it does. This is why America's the best. Okay.
No, I was not used to the battery system for controllers when like I've been used to like Nintendo products. Like Nintendo products all have like their stuff built in. I was used to PlayStation having their stuff built in. When I got to Xbox,
which I like better.
Huh?
I still like that better.
I don't. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to toss this thing on the little charging dock and just have it work. It's cool to not have to think about it and just, I put my phone on the little charging pad and it just charges. I don't have to think about like replacing the batteries in my Samsung Galaxy phone anymore and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's the longevity of the system. Like my Joy-Cons that I have in a drawer somewhere, those batteries are going to swell, and that's going to cause issues. Like I'm going to have to break open those Joy-Cons, and I'm going to have to take those lithium ions out and get them replaced. I'm going to have to do
those Joy-Cons were going to drift well before that happened.
I've had one set, which was the original set from 2017, ever start to slowly drift. And I have 3 sets of Joy-Cons.
You're like the 360 era person that's like, I've never gotten a red ring.
I never had a red ring.
6 of you.
I never had a red ring.
Oh my gosh, jeez. That's how you know Logan's lying to everybody.
Some of us take care of our hardware. Some of us are okay with the battery system. We didn't have red rings in my house. You know why? Because we weren't trying to destroy our consoles.
What are you talking?
Dust.
We never had red rings in my house. That's Logan saying we never had Xbox 360s in my house.
I had a 360.
No, you did not. Not if you didn't have a red ring. Not if you didn't have a red ring.
I had a Connect. My handle back in the day was Captain Conquest because it was a joke on my WoW character.
Mm-hmm. What
And
model did you have? Like, did
the
you
it
have
was
this
it was the
the
S.
launch one?
No,
Oh well, the S never did Red Ring. They redesigned
it
it.
was
It
a
was like
360. Luke, it was a
that's
360.
no,
You
no, no.
just said 360.
You're
You're now trying to
you're a
drill
fake
into
Xbox
this like and
fan.
be like,
You're a
oh,
fake
okay, well, it
Xbox
was a
fan.
Series S, so they had already worked out the heating issues with that. So
Logan
clearly that's
hates
why you
Halo.
never had
Everyone.
it.
Logan hates Halo. I always knew you thought that Resistance was a better shooter.
Reach sucks. I'm sorry.
You are so wrong. Oh my god. Oh my god.
4 and 5 had a good plot going that just didn't get realized.
If you guys ever want to lose your minds on Logan, go back. It's somewhere on our YouTube channel. One of our Xbox wrap ups, we ranked the Halos.
ODST was boring.
ODST was boring. So real quick, Edward Barnell wants to know if it's time for Quantum Break 2.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Like, I don't want Control or Alan Wake as franchises to suffer. I haven't played enough Alan Wake because I haven't been there, but I don't know if there's any homages to it. But Remedy can cook whatever they want, and I'll play it.
I think there is. I think I think it was in Alan Wake 2 though, but I wouldn't know. I'm going off of Muffin Man on that one.
Oh, well, thanks for that spoiler, jerk.
I don't know.
Kevin Ainsworth, everybody. Should 343 take a stab at it? No. Nope. 343 needs I don't know what needs to happen there. Let's do one more question. Let's see. Kevin Ainsworth's question. We're gonna wait till next week because it's a better Black Friday question. Let's do Jose Martinez's question. He writes in over on Twitter.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on companies giving tiny teasers way ahead of release? Does it build hype levels or just make you mad? As an example, think about Mass Effect and their yearly end 7-day teasers, despite the game being at least 5 years out. I do not like teasers that don't make sense. It was important that we saw at the beginning of the Xbox One generation a State of Decay 3 teaser. But to their credit, they've not continued to go to that well. They said, hey, this is a thing, and they've left it alone. Metroid Prime 4, maybe it's a bit egregious, but I think they're just sitting on it, right? False hype teasers are not fair, not good, not healthy. But teasers like, hey, we are genuinely doing this, cool. An example escapes me at the moment, but if they're just saying, hey, this is what's Beyond Good and Evil 2? That was a teaser that should never have happened. Right?
Yeah, that was not a game.
That should not have been a thing. That shouldn't be a thing.
That game doesn't exist.
3 we know is happening, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing. But they've not gone back to that well. Whereas Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's been revisited here and there. So it depends on how that teaser is being used. If it's being used to manipulate an audience, I don't think that's healthy. So I think PlayStation's good about teasers. Xbox has been good about teasers as well. Nintendo, I'm not sure, has. Metroid Prime 4 standing out in my mind as being egregious.
That's the only one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just because I just care about Metroid. Because nobody's teased Star Fox, and Metroid and Star Fox are my two favorites over there.
I think having tiny teasers come out like ahead of time, sometimes that is not always the studio's choice. Sometimes the studio is mandated by the publisher to get something out there, right? I think I don't like it because it builds a false sense of marketing in my mind. Like, I like it when games are 6 months away and they start to ramp up like the teasers at the 6 month mark. By the 3 month mark, you start to get some more like in-depth stuff going on, like some bigger reveals. And then the last like month, you're just like, okay, full on, let's do the full marketing kind of like stuff out there for people to find for the everyday Joe who wants to go like walk into a store and see like there's an Xbox thing going on right now with a bunch of skins for Doritos and Mountain Dew and whatnot. So you can get like skins and whatnot and stuff like that. I like that kind of stuff. When you're going and putting out something that like 2019 Everwild, Metroid Prime 3 or 4 is a good example. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, terrible thing to be doing, like getting people's hopes up about that, especially when that game is vaporware. Outer Worlds 2 is kind of like hey, the team that's working on Outer Worlds is done with expansions. We have plans on making 2, but there's nothing to say about that until the time is right. I think Avowed is a good example of when you put out something too soon because the creative director for that changed. And
Mm-hmm.
as such, the look of the game has changed from the
Mm-hmm.
original teaser to what we've seen more recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that has caused a lot of news pundits to question the stability of the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And that unfortunately is just, it's one of those things. So no, I don't like it when like N7 is, or Mass Effect is doing these early teasers. This is the second time they've done it. They haven't showed an actual game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And Avowed is I think at the time the state Xbox was in at the time, they needed it. But now going forward, I think we're okay. At
Yeah.
least that's what I think.
I think
We'll
I
see.
think Avowed is going to be a fantastic game. It's not going to be Elder Scrolls 6 like everyone wants it to be.
And I don't want them to make something they don't want to make.
Oh yeah.
You know?
No.
I just don't want that. I don't
Yeah.
want that. So all right, my friend. I think that's a good place to stop. I will remind people to check out the merch store, link in the description. Really excited about seeing that happen. And I will thank again anybody that's chosen to like the show over on YouTube, share it on your various socials, subscribe on whatever platform of choice. And if you're so willing, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. Really means the world when you guys do that. Helps us do the little things, website services, travel, game if we need it for coverage. We really appreciate you guys for that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Logan, congrats on Keelhauled 300 and shout out to any
Oh,
Keelhaul
thank you.
listeners. Let us know where we can find that.
Just search for Keelhauled. You will find either a pirate based song from a metal band, or you'll find my podcast. And that's really the best advice I can give. Just search for Keelhauled, the Sea of Thieves podcast, or search Sea of Thieves podcast. You'll find me in there. 301 this week going out, so got a lot to talk about, and probably be working on that this weekend as well. Other than that, definitely if you guys want to have like good conversations about games, things like that, please consider joining the Patreon so you can get access to the Discord server. And the community there is small and niche and very just like the best people that you could possibly want to have conversations with games about.
Agreed. You guys can find me on Twitter at Insipid or Twitter threads. I've used a lot of threads lately at InsipidGhost. And of course, the Patreon Discord is where I genuinely love to start my day. It's the best. So that's it for us. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Take care.